Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot Media. Finance Minister Audley Shaw has rejected assertions that he acted irresponsibly in the granting of 2 moratoria to facilitate the clearing of used cars for the Jamaica Constabulary Force after the supplier expressed difficulty in completing the process. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has the details.
O'Brien's Car Sales and Rental International was given a contract to supply 200 pre-owned vehicles for the police. However, the matter turned sour after O'Brien's International failed to deliver all the vehicles and requested duty waivers in order to clear those which were in the country. The opposition has also been critical of the handling of the matter by the Ministries of National Security and Finance, with it being discussed at length during Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC. Addressing the annual general meeting of the Used Car Dealers Association on Thursday night, Finance Minister Audley Shaw accused the opposition of mischief-making. He highlighted to the gathering how his ministry came into the debacle.
Now, the contract that was awarded to the company for the supply of close to 100 vehicles. When the issue first came to me, for 30 vehicles to be cleared, it was in my mind as the minister. And bear in mind, there are only 2 ministers in the country who are recognized by the Constitution, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Issues come to the Minister of Finance. The technocrats in the ministry can recommend. Ultimately, one person makes a decision, the minister. And what did I face? I faced the need for the clearance of vehicles because what we're having problems on the road. Crime.
He then set about outlining the decisions he made in relation to the issue.
So when it was brought to my attention, and it was not clear to me at that point that the issue of who pays what in terms of taxes, I decided to issue a first moratorium for 30 vehicles, which were cleared, because the Ministry of National Security countersigned on that clearance. And it was not a waiver. It was a moratorium. That means the money must be paid, but a little later, a few months down the line. A second request for a moratorium came. On the basis that the ministry accepted and countersigned on the first one, I authorized the second one. Yes, opposition, I, Audley Shaw, authorized the second one. Because I wanted 68 more vehicles on the road to fight crime.
Mr. Shaw says the decisions were also made keeping in mind that there is a $42 million performance bond and another $213 million bond pledged to the Ministry of National Security if there is non-performance. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the finance ministers hailed the announcement of the pre-inspection of all Japanese used vehicles being imported into the country as a positive one. The announcement was made by Industry and Commerce Minister Karl Samuda on Tuesday in Parliament. Minister Shaw says with this new move by the government, all participants will be able to benefit.
The pre-inspection program will be done under highly transparent conditions with a report that will be issued both to the importer, to the trade board, and ultimately that report will be available to the consumer. So you know precisely what you're buying.
He noted that customers will have access to all the necessary information and will not be led to buying faulty motor vehicles.
This will lead to more confidence in the market. It will lead to more confidence among your customers. Some might think it's irritating, but I think more and more we need to get used to the idea that if we want to build a civilized society, we must be prepared to be transparent, open, and truthful.
The Industry and Commerce Minister said that a Japan company has been contracted to carry out the inspection on behalf of the Jamaican government. Mr. Samuda reiterated the measure has become necessary to protect consumers and customers amid increasing reports of the odometers of used vehicles being tampered with to mask high mileage as well as other irregularities. A 22-year-old Jamaican man has been imprisoned for 6 years in Bermuda after he admitted to smuggling $200,000 worth of cocaine into the country. Dwayne George Watson, who is from Mavis Bank in St. Andrew, was caught at the L.F. Wade International Airport after flying to Bermuda from Jamaica via New York. The Supreme Court heard that the Jamaican was stopped for a random search after he passed through customs and collected a suitcase on September 1 last year. TVJ News learned that a customs officer noticed that he was nervous while he answered questions and the zipper of the suitcase had been shut with zip ties. The customs officers then drilled into the handle of the suitcase and found 11 packages of cocaine and crack. More than a kilogram of cocaine was found. Mr. Watson told police he had agreed to bring ganja into Bermuda after he struggled to find a job here in Jamaica. The security forces have stepped up the hunt for some of St. James' most dangerous criminals with an online viral campaign seeking public assistance. The 17 men are wanted in connection with gang-related activities, other crimes, including multiple murders, wounding and shooting with intent, as well as rape. According to Inspector Dan Bartley of the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Corporate Communications Unit, these criminals are ruthless, dangerous and brazen and show blatant disregard for life as well as law and order. As part of the security operations under the state of public emergency in St. James, there is an online campaign utilizing Twitter and Facebook pages, facebook.com/takebackstjames and twitter.com/takebackstjames. As the crime situation continues to spiral out of control, there have been many measures put forward to put a halt to the situation. Government Senator Matthew Samuda is suggesting that a scientific approach be taken. This, he noted, as crime is affecting all sectors of the society. He therefore says a serious question needs to be asked.
Why and what is leading to this increased aggression, this increased violence, which isn't new, as I've said. The fact is, the increase in the murder rate started going up by 20% at the end of 2014. All right, so you've seen a stem that, to be honest, neither side has been able to curtail yet.
He noted that the country's crime problem is at a point where it has become unbearable.
People are feeling each murder almost as a personal affront to their own safety. So you find that there's a greater need or a greater national concern and a greater interest in solving it. But there are some things that we have to accept. Jamaica's borders are porous. As people in most, I'd say, rural areas, that's it. Jamaica is an open land. We're surrounded by water that is 25 times the size of our land. We are surrounded by Central, South America, and North America. We're exposed to many areas that have deep criminal issues and that have an amazing and scary level of access to weaponry.
The Ministry of Health is reporting strong demand for the flu vaccine. Principal Medical Officer and National Epidemiologist in the ministry, Dr. Karen Webster Carr, said more than 20,000 doses of the vaccine were purchased in adult and pediatric formulations in preparation for the flu season. 15,000 doses have so far been distributed. Director of Health Promotion and Protection Branch in the ministry, Dr. Beverly Wright, noted that take-up of the vaccine has been good so far. However, she stressed the need for persons with chronic illnesses, the elderly, pregnant women, and healthcare workers to get vaccinated. She noted that while the vaccine may not prevent persons from contracting the influenza virus, it will protect them against more aggressive strains. Dr. Wright is encouraging persons to practice proper hygiene to prevent themselves and others from getting the flu. These include washing hands regularly and keeping hands away from the eyes, nose, and mouth. And it's time now for a Fact or Fiction feature. Fact or Fiction, a state of emergency was first declared in Jamaica in 1976. Well, you can find out the answer at the end of the sports segment of the Midday News. We go now to news overseas. South Korea's deadliest fire in almost a decade has ripped through a hospital, killing at least 37 people and injuring more than 100. Authorities revised the death toll down from 39, but officials warned it could rise as a number of patients were in a critical condition. The details from the CNN.
It's just an awful scene here, and you can still smell the fire, and you can actually see the crime scene investigators over here. I'll show you. They've been going through the hospital for the past several hours. They were fighting this fire for nearly 3 hours. It broke out on the first floor. A lot of the people who died had just checked into the emergency room. This is a neighborhood hospital. It's attached to a nursing home, and so most of the patients were senior citizens. These are people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who had come in for a variety of ailments to this hospital, and in a matter of moments, the building is engulfed in flames. This is the first fire truck here that arrived, we're told. And we spoke with a shopkeeper who actually was just working here right next door, and he says that he saw all of the patients coming out from the intensive care unit. These are senior citizens. They had oxygen masks on. Some of them had difficulty walking. And what we're hearing, in fact, there's another briefing happening over here right now, but what officials have been saying is that there were no sprinklers in this building. It's a small building. You can see it's about 5 stories up. The fire only made it up to the second floor. But the second floor was the intensive care unit, and the patients who were there, a lot of them weren't even mobile. They weren't even able to get out of bed, and so that's why they believe this number, believed to be anywhere from 39 to 41 people killed. There are different estimates right now because the victims have been taken to various hospitals. But this is the deadliest fire that South Korea has seen, Aisha, in possibly a decade. And just down that way over there, a very sad scene. They put a list of the people's names who died, and so we've seen family members coming here looking for the list, trying to see if their loved one was killed or if they've been transferred to some of the other hospitals in this area.
Wow. Now time for sports. The 42nd staging of the Gibson McCook Relays will see 2 new events introduced, which will be held on the last Saturday in February. Simon Preston has the details.
The 47 events set for the National Stadium will feature 27 boys and 20 girl events on February 24, starting at 9 a.m. Chairman of the organizing committee, Rainford Wilkes, speaks about the 2 new events.
We are actually introducing 2 new events which have become very popular. The sprint medley has become a very popular race. Hitherto we only had it for the institutions, but the boys and girls will have their chance this year in an open race. So it's a boys and girls sprint medley relay, and in fact they're so exciting that we have elevated them to championship levels. So that's what we're looking forward to, spice up the meet, so to speak.
Despite the prestige of the boys and girls championships, Wilkes thinks the Gibson McCook Relays is still key in the development of athletics on the island.
We still believe that this is the preeminent meet outside of boys and girls championships, and we think it has contributed to 40 years of showcasing, encouraging, and we plan to continue that, and we believe it will always have a place in the calendar, an important place.
First Vice President of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, Ian Forbes, provided an update on when the respective teams will be announced for the IAAF World Indoor Championships in March and the Commonwealth Games in April.
I know meetings have been taking place with the members of the executive and the selection committee, and anticipate that will be done in another few days.
Forbes is also optimistic about the J3A hosting a national senior and junior championship later this year.
I am confident that there will be, as well as a junior championship. Of course, despite the fact that there are no necessarily major championships on the Commonwealth Games should be considered major. It's still a very important year, and of course development is always taking place, so I think it's in the best interest of everyone for that to happen.
Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Simon Preston.
And finally this afternoon, the answer to our fact or fiction feature. We asked fact or fiction. The first state of emergency was declared in Jamaica in 1976. Well, it's fiction. The first state of emergency declared in Jamaica was in October 1966 in West Kingston. Police and military concentrated on the cordon-off area surrounding the JLP's and PNP's West Kingston headquarters on Wellington and Regent Street. It was declared by the government following prolonged violence between JLP and PNP supporters in the area. It was seen as a government act to stamp out political violence. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon and have a great weekend.